Like people will take prescription drugs and then they'll be like, why am I still depressed? Why am I still anxious? The drug should have fixed it. The
Mm,
drug is not going to fix it.
mm,
I always say, like, it's 10%. It's like your foundation, right?
yeah,
It's just going to do 10% of the work for you. But
yeah.
that 10% is important,
Mm,
but that's all it can do for you is 10%. And I
mm,
think that's true of any prescription drug, whether it is your heart medicine, your antidepressants, like whatever prescription drug you are taking,
mm.
it is just foundational. The rest has got to be diet, lifestyle practices, all the
Yeah,
things that you do to then, make sure that you are in health and wellness. Because prescription drugs cannot, even diabetes, like
mm,
insulin cannot fix everything, right? You've still got to change certain dietary habits and lifestyle things and reduce your stress. All right, here we go again.
good morning, good morning.
Morning.
Uh,
It's funny, we were just talking about looking in the mirror and how how neither one of us look in the mirror much anymore. And as I was pressing record, I was just thinking, like, I wonder if that's kind of a COVID thing. Like after COVID,
mm.
people just not gave up on their appearance, but definitely like people's appearance didn't matter anymore so much.
100%. That's so true.
I think there was a whole thing like nobody was coloring their hair. All of a sudden, we saw people with, you know, roots, and we weren't put together anymore. And like, I think it really changed the way that we all see each other and the way we look. I think it's a good thing. I think we were a little too obsessed before,
Yeah.
and COVID all of a sudden made everybody just a teeny bit more real, which is nice. Yeah,
Real and unreal too. Like it's like interesting. I
yeah.
was talking to some new hires when I was at my old job, and they like went to high school during COVID. So like I was talking to them about the before days. I was like, now it's like you'll barely see anybody even make eye contact with each other. Everybody's looking at
Right?
the screen or jamming out to their music. Like I'll look at people and I'm not in the South, so this might not resonate to some people in some communities, but you know, you'll look at some people in the city and like, they're just looking straight ahead, like, all right, don't make anybody feel uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And I
I
remember
love that you said I'm not in the South, so this might not resonate with people.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, people were like, "Hi there." Like, I just drove from Virginia. Well, I drove to Virginia last week for a wedding, and then I just drove back, and so I was just reminded
Oh,
at how
wow.
different, like people wave to you while they're driving, and but I will
And if you
always,
thought Virginia was friendly, Myrtle Beach, oh
oh
my
yeah,
gosh, this is the
mm,
friendliest place I think I've ever been in my life.
oh, you fitted
People
so
are
nice.
so happy and friendly here. It's quite delightful, actually. Like, wow, everybody's in such a great mood.
Yeah, yeah, it really helps you be positive. I remember
Yeah.
like wearing masks, and I remember how like during COVID, a lot of like my female friends would be like, "This is great. Like I don't have to worry about like any makeup or anything from here down. I just have to do like something with my eyebrows, some eyeliner, some eyeshadow, and like I'm set. I got my hat on, so it's like
Yeah.
you're. It's interesting you're pointing out like we didn't really want to put in all that effort. Not everybody wanted to put in all that superficial effort in the first place, and as soon as we didn't have to, we were like, screw that. Like we're just gonna try to
It
be
was
less
fun.
superficial. Right?
I actually hired some employees during that time,
Yeah.
and I hired them and they had their mask on. And it was months before I saw their actual face. And it was so strange when they actually finally were able to like take their mask off and I saw their face and I was like, oh, wow. That's not exactly what I thought you looked like. It was kind of surprising. Like, you're like, wow, my brain, I guess, just made up the rest of their face.
Mm.
It's weird how like our brains will just make stuff up.
Yeah.
Like
So
it just kind of puts in information, like it tries to fill in all the gaps, and so often it's just completely false. And that's like, I think, that's actually something interesting to talk about because how often do we operate based on what our brains are telling us or what we think our mind is saying, and it's just completely not real. It's totally
I happen to be a specialist in imagination. Yeah, like
false.
oh my goodness.
Stories. D is a he's also a leadership coach, so he talks
Mm,
a lot about this, and he's always like talking about people's stories. Like he's like, this person has one story, this person has another story. They're just the stories, and there's no real like truth. It's just perception of the two people. And so
yeah,
one person made up this whole thing about the situation, the other person made up another whole thing about the situation. And so trying to find like, some sort of common story that they can both agree to because it's all just a story that they made up.
yeah. I was thinking about too, like how we were raised too is such a huge influence. Like, Saf and I are from like different backgrounds, so it's more obvious. But even like different families in the same neighborhood, like you might have one word that means this thing to you, but to your partner or to whoever else, it has a whole different connotation and like or a different intensity or and so the Toltec like Don Miguel Ruiz and like just the different people from that lineage and like some of the books they have like Mastery of Love is one that comes to mind. They talk about the dream, like all of us are like dreamers. We all have our own dream, and we're like the human mind is like a dream machine, but dreams can be seen as like art, and so we're sort of dream artists creating our own dream, our own narrative. But and then in there is like a little exercise. It's like reflect on the people like your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. Like how how would they describe you, and how accurately do you think their description truly reflects the whole depth of who you are? And then
Yeah.
when you do that, you'll find out that like probably no one really does, know you entirely the same way that you know you. And so like it's really almost impossible in a way to come to that meeting point of like we all agree on the same dream. It just the advice then is just like respect other people's dreams as they are rather than try to like coerce and coordinate like your dream, in a way that's like forceful or harmful to them. So that's something that came to mind.
It's interesting because like we're so I mean that's the source of so much pain and suffering in the world overall is this thing where we need people to be in agreement with us.
Mm.
And if they're not in alignment or agreement with us, then we want to fight with them and we want to have like discord and we want to make them wrong and be like, you don't think the same as me, so you must be wrong. Or you don't do things the same as me, so you must be wrong.
Mm.
It's, I don't know.
It's a little sticky. Yeah,
It is, right? Very sticky. It's like, what is it in us that constantly makes, I mean, again, like if we're looking at it on like a big scale, of course, self wants to experience itself. And so, and had to create separation in order to be able to experience itself. Um, but it's just funny that like our default, like why isn't our default just kindness and harmony and peace? And everything else is like, I mean, I guess inside, right? That is our default. That's what exists in us is complete peace and harmony. And, that's what we're getting back to is like removing all those layers and all that illusion to get back to that peace and harmony. But it's just funny that like that's not what we just want to reside in all the time, like
yeah,
naturally. Like we're always trying to like do these things to like outside, like get back to there, but we're doing it so badly. And we're creating ourselves like so much pain and suffering for ourselves because we just don't want to just be. If we could just be, we'd just be really happy. But instead, we're like running around trying to do all these things to make ourselves happy. And it's really, it's so pointless.
it really is. Yeah, it's like I was just walking my dogs and I was just watching birds just like pick up food off the ground. Like, I was like, food should be free in a way when you think about it. Not like not from a socialist point of view, but just from like a fruit is here. Like, we all need food. Like, I don't know. I was just thinking to myself, like, we put all these barriers in place, like society, because we do individually, we do societally as well as a reflection to like almost distance us from those things that like we want the most. And like I actually just read, I've been I've been reading and learning a little bit more these last 2 weeks. I
Fun. I
truly
bet you have. You've had time.
absolutely. So I was like, this is great. And like one of these books I've been having in here like for forever. I started it a long time ago. I'll just give it a quick shout out because my friend also coincidentally got this book. It's called The Science of Self-Realization, His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, yeah.
Prabhupada, yeah, founder of Akarya, of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and this is like a picture of him. Oh, it's not really focusing. Okay, there we go. It's gold on his
Wow.
forehead. I'm like, that's fly. Just what I don't know exactly what it means. I just know that it's fly. I'm like, um,
He's sort of the founder of like the Western like Hare Krishna movement.
and Hare
He's
Krishna, like it's been on my mind a lot because like I've been reading it, and I remember I read like his translation of the Bhagavad Gita a couple years ago, and it was interesting how his emphasis is like on Hari Kirtana or Hari Kirtan, just chanting
yeah.
essentially, and
Hmm.
you know it just got me thinking. Like for those of you that don't know, it's essentially like I'll just say it out of respect. Um, it goes like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and then you go like that, essentially over and over again. But like, there's
Yeah.
instruments, there's singing, there's people that are dancing, um, and like I remember we did satsang. Satsang is essentially like a spirit. I'm gonna use my language. You can you can use a
Yeah.
technical. It's like a spiritual party. Like essentially, it's like it's either what is it Friday or Saturday night, and it's sort of like it's sort of just like it's the gathering of like the spiritual community, the spiritual seekers, and you kind of get there, and it always starts like at least the ones that I've been to. It starts with or a major element of it at least is the chanting and the singing, and then there's like speeches afterwards, and um
Yeah, and the Hare Krishnas do it so well. Like, I mean, they're not just chanting, they're like
yeah,
dancing.
it's
They're
like
dancing.
it's
I think that's
beautiful.
like really key because like there's so much like chanting now, but they are like, and they're not just like swaying dancing. They're
Yeah,
like jumping up and down and like getting like that energy. I remember as a kid, like, so there's a really, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be an incredible Hare Krishna temple in Denver. And I guess it was in Denver. We used to go there on weekends. So when I was a kid, that's actually why I'm named Radha. I don't
mm,
think a lot of people know that. People assume that Swami Satchidananda named me, but he didn't. My parents actually named me. Because when we would go to the Hare Krishna temple, we were going to integral yoga and we were going to the Unitarian church. Like my mom was super, like my mom's into like, obviously they're ministers of integral yoga
yeah,
and have lived this lifestyle forever. So they're super into yoga, like religion, and really wanted the kids to be like immersed in spirituality.
yeah,
As a kid, the Hare Krishnas are like the most fun
yeah,
because you get to just jump up and down and
mm,
you're dancing and singing. And then after you do all that, then they feed you. And if you have never had
mm,
Indian food made by the Hare Krishnas, first of all, they have their very own unique, distinct flavors that they put
mm,
into their food.
mm.
You don't really find it anywhere else, but if you go to like a Hare Krishna thing anywhere around the world and you eat the food afterwards, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like food. Like it just has its own flavor. And they actually have a cookbook. It's one of my favorite Indian cookbooks. Um, but they tap into some really key things in like bhakti, and that is, you know, dancing, chanting, right? Raising that energy,
Yeah.
bringing that joy, and then feeding people, right? And having that communion of eating together and feeding. And so yeah, the satsang, the talk is great. They do have books.
Yeah.
They certainly give lectures, but I don't think most people are. I don't, as a kid, I don't remember any lectures, but I do remember the dancing and chanting. And they have an incredible album. I don't know if you've ever listened to it. It
No.
was actually, I think it was produced by George Harrison from the Beatles.
Ooh.
And if you look it up, it is just one of the best albums. We grew up on it as kids, and it's so beautiful to listen to. So yeah, they have a lot of really cool stuff. Their whole organization is pretty amazing, and of course, they're all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. Like truly all over the world, even like by the 70s it was, and that's what like a lot of this book centers around. But I think I have to pull up a video, but like a more modern one is like an African Swami and the Hare Krishna movement. I think I might have shared like a couple videos with you. I think let me just find them real quick. Swami.
And just like any other organization, they had their ups and downs, and they had their split that happened, and lots of drama and scandal and all the kinds of things that happen in any
Yeah.
people that get together and try to do something. Um, but they still actually have a really, huge presence around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I
And
think
they feed you for free. I mean, like you can go to their program, and if you go to their program, they'll still feed you. It's pretty incredible.
let's see. Yeah. It's pretty dope. And I it got me thinking about like music's role, and everybody accepts that music like it gets to the soul. It has like sort of this interesting relationship with us. Like it can force you to dance, it can make you feel things. And me just like just sitting there thinking, just now I got all this time, I'm like like a lot of the times the music that we hear, it puts us in the mental state or the mind frame of the writer or the singer, writer and the singer and the musicians as they created the music. Sort of same thing like with food and really with everything else. But you hear a sad song, and you hear like you listen to interviews now of artists, and they're like, yeah, I wrote that when my right after my dad died and my boyfriend broke up with me and this happened. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh my god, why do I feel this way, while you're listening to this sad song. And the same thing's true with happy songs. you know Even me as like like a smoker, there's like smoking songs or whatever. Like there's all sorts of things, drinking songs, right? And you can tell. And I think for me, I've you can tell, like, especially with all this data that we have now with a lot of like the major artists, you can see like in their work ethic and their way that like no, like they're really partying like in this booth right now while they're making this song about partying. And what was so beautiful for me is like a lot of the rappers that I listened to when I was younger, like 12, now they're in their early 40s, right? Late 30s, early 40s. Drake is and have children and have families, and like really are like men now for sure, at least in the way that they present themselves. Like they're the leaders now in the rooms that they're in because they're so experienced. um Let me make sure I have good connection. So there's two rappers that came out like when I was in high school, and like probably two of my favorite, but like one for sure is my favorite. And like Wiz Khalifa is one, and then the other one's Kid Cudi, who's like my favorite. And these two artists are like very well known for like being stoners essentially, but they're rappers that are outside the mold. Like they're not trying to be hard. Like Kid Cudi's like, if anything, he's very like depressed and he's like trying to work through that. And Wiz Khalifa's kind of like the happy party guy. That's just like, I just want to be like the cool rock star kind of guy. I don't want any beef. Um, but they had never made a song together, and they had made two songs live together. Like within 4 hours, they created entirely two songs pretty much. And you just saw like the creative process, and like Wiz Khalifa's like, they're just creating the melodies on the spot and creating the lyrics. Like Kid Cudi had his lyrics, but like Wiz Khalifa was freestyling line by line and just like finding the rhythm and just kind of like totally relax and trusting the process. And and it was crazy how like you saw like all these disparate minds, and especially like these two like really popular minds that have never worked together, but they're friends, like just create this like beautiful thing. And why I'm relating this to Kirtan is like what separates Kid Cudi, and I would say Wiz Khalifa, I would say, is a little bit more on the materialistic plane, but he still represents like that higher level of materialistic plane where it's like it's not about beef, it's about having fun and like kicking it with the homies and like having fun with your friends, like like being responsible enough to like he's very anti blunts, like he's anti tobacco because he's like it's too addictive and stuff like that. He's like it's you don't want to be bunkered down. And then Kid Cudi, on the other hand, he's much more spiritual. He's much more psychedelic, but at the same time, like he sings about God all the time and he hums all the time, and and he's like he uses that to his advantage. And like so, I've been listening to his music more as he's gotten older, and he sings about God a lot more, and his songs are a lot tougher and better. And they did a podcast together afterwards, and they were talking about sort of their process, and they were talking about how when they were younger there'd be 30 people in there, and then now it's just them, they're their engineer, maybe one other person, and now their music is much more peaceful and there's much more ease, and it's translating through the music, and that you can experience it, like the music that they're putting out lately. And just had me thinking like these like Kid Cudi, like if you're around my age, like he's very, very beloved. Like no one doesn't like people might not like all of his music, but generally speaking, he's very beloved. No beef. Like Drake is very controversial, like or Kanye or all these other people, but not Drake. I mean, not Kid Cudi, not Wiz Khalifa. And it was very like interesting to see like how Kid Cudi has made this transition of his whole story was I want to show kids that are suicidal how to combat that, and like how to
Mm.
use music as a tool to like transmute that energy of like self-destruction to something beautiful. And it's interesting, his most hated album was when he was the most suicidal, and like now he's like feeling like he's in this more beloved space, and he's like now I'm getting new people, I'm getting new opportunities, I have all these TV shows, I have all this, not I have, but it's more like I've been given this opportunity. And even in the song that they created, his like one of his main lyrics was like, I never thought I'd live to see this day, like so now I know everything I have is because of God. And then he has this song, he has like many songs recently that are about that. And so obviously the epitome of this type of music to me is like Bob Marley, in like the way that he went about it, where he mixed in like the party aspect to like singing about God, and then sort of like a little bit of a rebellious attitude into it. And how like really music is actually and this is what the Hare Krishna movement is trying to implement or emphasize, is that music is the quickest, and the singing about God, specifically singing God's name, is the quickest and most uh, powerful way to feel connected to God.
It's true because there's, music has frequencies. So there's two factors in there. One is the frequency of the music. So
Hmm.
like you can even look at like the different hertz at which, the music is being played, or and the beats per minute. Like all those things actually have a physical impact on you. So when you listen to certain music, it actually does something in your system that changes, your entire body and nervous system. So when you listen to certain music, it does invoke certain moods, certain things, certain energy. And so kirtan, that's the whole idea of kirtan, is it's like this very uplifting vibration. Plus, when you're chanting, the chant itself, the words coming out of your mouth have a certain vibration, and they create a certain vibration in your body. And so it can be very healing. It also can raise your energy up. Chanting is like, and it's something you can do anywhere. It also has a pranayama aspect to it, right? Because you have to breathe while you're chanting.
Mm.
And so it creates like a certain rhythmic breathing. And then the Hare Krishnas, what they're doing is also they're jumping up and down a lot and
Mm,
they're moving. And that is actually like raising the Kundalini energy in your body and
mm,
really just increasing like this energy in your body. So they have tapped into something that does raise your energy really fast. It's really extraordinary.
mm.
And that's why so many people are so drawn to it. I do think that while it can be the fastest way to get there, it also can have some dangers to it. So you always get to bear in mind that anything done excessively is
Mm.
going to have ill effects. And
Yeah.
so I do think a little bit people would blow out their Kundalini. They would have spiritual experiences because they were doing it so fast and they were raising this energy really fast, and the energy of the chanting and then jumping and all the stuff they were doing. I do think that some people, especially when you mix it with drugs or things like that, then it can have like an adverse effect, and you can sometimes you can induce psychosis. It can mimic mental health issues. This Kundalini like awakening can do all kinds of things that like are not necessarily great. So you have to be mindful and really grounded. That's what the one thing I always loved about Swami Satchidananda is he would like be like, all that stuff's fine, but then make sure you're grounding. Because if you don't ground yourself, then your energy is going to start swirling too much. And if you've ever had that feeling, like it can be really trippy. Like I've had times where like I got too much energy and like literally my whole body's like chewed for you those who can't see it. I'm like rotating and
Yeah.
like yeah.
Wobbling.
And so um
Can I pause you just real quick? Because I think you
yeah.
said two words that are worth defining. Like,
Mhm.
so Kundalini, I don't think we really expanded on. And then, like, I think I know what you mean by when Swami Satchidananda said ground, but like, how would you like define that? I mean, and I'm sorry if you're already about to say that.
No, no, no. So Kundalini is like this base energy that sits at your spine. And when you achieve enlightenment, they talk about the Kundalini, that energy raising up your spine and coming up through all your chakras and into the top of your head. And that is essentially the energy that causes enlightenment. Like your Kundalini awakes and then it expands your consciousness. That's a really brief explanation.
What does it feel like? What would you say?
So it can feel like a lot of things, but it can feel like euphoria. It can feel like all of a sudden like oneness with universe and God. I personally have a belief, and you know, this is backed up by some people, but I believe that mental health issues often are Kundalini that kind of rose, but you weren't. So if your body is not like clean enough,
Mm.
and the pathway is not clean enough, it can get stuck or it can cause adverse effects of that energy rising through you, and your body and your vessel is not prepared for it properly,
Yeah.
then it can have adverse effects. So I think often when people have, you know, psychotic moments or breaks or things like that, I think it is often due to Kundalini. Oh God, I had so many people coming in more than more than I would like, who would come into the institute when I was working up there and would come in and say, I've had something happen to me and I don't know how to deal with it. It's like the veil dropped, or I'm just in this state, or I just am constantly like in this awareness, or something went haywire, and I'm not able to ground myself into this planet and this world and this universe we're living in. And so I'm really struggling because in my meditation or my practice or something like that, some kind of energy started flowing through me and I can't get it back under control. So that energy ideally would be a pure, your vessel would be really pure and you could just bring that energy up and then it would lead to like enlightenment. If that vessel's not pure, and this is one of the reasons why in yoga we often focus on diet, exercise, lifestyle, making sure the vessel's really pure. So when that Kundalini energy rises, there's no issues and it can just be a really enlightening, pure experience.
Mm.
Grounding. Grounding means literally what it sounds like. Like they talk a lot about energy grounding now, where you just go outside and take your shoes off and put your feet on the earth.
Mm,
But there has to be like something to bring you back down
mm,
into this plane and connecting with the earth again. And
mm.
that's literally what I think grounding is like, tying yourself back down into the earth, being like, I am on this planet here now. I'm not in all the other parallel universes. I am not opening up to all consciousness. I think about like when Krishna would reveal himself, but he was like, I cannot reveal myself to you all the time. Like your little teeny human brain
Yeah.
can't handle it. It's
Yeah.
not meant to be able to handle this.
Mm.
And so it's the same way with like that Kundalini awakening. Most of our brains are not meant to handle that. And so it can go really haywire. So one of the things to do is like, not do excessive practices. Like don't do 5 hours of pranayama. For most people, that's not going to be good. Don't meditate for 10 hours at a time or 5 hours at a time. You know, don't jump up and down and do kirtan for, too many hours at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
All these things, like you have to be really mindful and then keep your vessel really pure. That's
Yeah.
why we don't eat, all the enes, caffeine, purine, nicotine. Great, I would say stay away from all the enes. Purine is in meat. It's a compounded meat. And so keeping your vessel as pure as possible so that when you have these energy flows, that then the vessel itself can handle that energy. But if your vessel's not pure and it's not clean, you can run into a lot of issues if that energy arises. Did that clarify anything?
I think so. There's probably many, many more questions like that some of the audience might have from that.
Probably.
Yeah, but it's
But
it's
if any of you, like, if any of you out there who are listening, or someone who's listening who is having some kind of adverse effect, I would say definitely reach out to us because there's a lot of things that you can do with some guidance to bring yourself back into a more grounded state. And I would work with people in New York just trying to like get them back into some sort of grounded space of like, and sometimes it's just literally going out and, like I said, standing outside in the grass and
yeah.
having your feet connected to the earth because we don't do that enough, right? Most of us, when you have shoes, a lot of our shoes are made out of materials that don't allow you to ground anymore. And so having something that's like a natural sole on your shoe also can be really necessary. So when you're out there walking around, like that energy is able to come through you and you're able to like, there's actually like electrical, our nervous system is these electrical like vibrations, right? These signals that are going through our body. And so these electrical signals also, just like electricity needs a ground, right? If lightning strikes, you want to ground it into the earth.
Yeah.
Well, those electrical signals often can get off and get a little crazy and haywire. And so grounding will literally do that, like almost like, lightning striking. You want to ground yourself into the earth. And
Dope.
there's lots of, they have like grounding sheets and grounding tools and grounding mats and all this kind of stuff. But the easiest and fastest way is 15 minutes outside with your feet in the dirt.
Yeah. Dope. Okay, all right. I know I kind of cut you off. Was there anything else that you were saying in that?
Oh, God, I have no idea. But
Because I was like, I'm not the best remembering. No, I'm glad that you brought all this up because I think now more than ever, it's like there's like AI and Google. Like I was like looking up stuff that was sort of almost like that I thought was almost not mainstream or not even close to mainstream. That's like being openly talked about like on AI sources or something like that. Where if you were to look up like what's Kundalini maybe and Google it, like you're gonna get maybe a more nuanced answer than you would have before. And so like there's just like, especially when I'm thinking about the kids or like my nieces' ages and stuff like that, where they're gonna have less boundaries to this information than like my generation did, and certainly any of the other mainstream American mainstream like generations did. And another thing that's like obviously, you said drugs. I think that's the other half of this. That's like a really big thing that we haven't really like talked that much about, but we should probably should maybe now. And because it's, first of all, it's my favorite topic. It's so nuanced and so interesting. Like, what
Before
is
we
it?
go into that, though, I just want to say something about the AI thing
Please,
before we jump over to drugs.
please.
Um, One thing that I found I love, I am into AI.
Yeah,
I know it's very controversial. I know that it's not great for the environment. I try to do lots of things like not eat meat to, you
yeah,
know, counteract environmental things happening in the world. But I do think AI is amazing. I am very interested in it and I do engage with it a lot. And it's interesting how the different AI, large language models, will deal with information. What I have found is if you're Googling something, you're using Gemini, or if you're using ChatGPT, it is going to be much more conservative and narrow in the information they're going to give you.
yeah,
And I say this for a reason. Claude is much more going to give you much more grounded research based stuff. Is not going to be as conservative, but is going to be more research based. Rock is actually the most open and wide open one. So one thing I find really fascinating is if I am looking up something, I try to look it up in multiple AI models
yeah,
because I want to see the information they give me. Grok will look at much more, and this is so funny, right? Because Grok actually, coming from the world I come from, so I have watched people going from saying yoga is weird and juju, voodoo, blah,
yeah,
blah, doesn't have any basis in reality, to now saying that science is really backing it up. And same thing with a lot of the natural health methods that I was raised in. There are still a lot of people who say that certain things are woo woo, are not grounded in the truth. I keep looking back to yoga, Ayurveda, kind of what I know in my natural health upbringing. So sometimes, if you want to look up more natural methods, just with caution, again, these are not medical doctors. They're not, sources. You should always consult a physician. But looking at Grok, if you're going to look up something, especially if you want alternative or natural ways to do something, or you want to look up like Kundalini, I would definitely say like look it up in Gemini, but also check out Grok because Grok is going to pull from a like much wider thing and it's not going to filter out results as much because that's one of the things that, Elon Musk is so passionate about is all speech should be free and you should have information regardless of whether it's healthy or not. And
yeah.
so if you're out there and you're looking some stuff up, and you're not too opposed to Elon Musk, I would say that just check out Grok too when you're looking stuff up because it just has more information, especially as I'm looking at like, alternative healing or methods or yoga or things that are just not your mainstream because Gemini is so conservative. I just find like Gemini will just be like, there's no research that proves that. And I understand because more people are going to be using that, right? So they have to like
Yeah.
protect themselves more.
No, you're right. That's smart.
Whereas Grok will give you a lot more information. It'll say, well, there's not a lot of research, but there's a lot of people on Reddit talking about this, or there's a lot of, you know, blogs that say blah blah blah. And so if you're looking up, let's say you want to say, how is dandelion root good for me? You might want to just look up something else. And so also, what does it say about, something like Kundalini awakening or something like that? Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's my AI talk for the day. Now we
No.
can go on to drugs.
No, that's great.
And
That's
probably if you're looking up drugs also, I would say the Grok probably
yeah,
is going to have a much wider,
100%. Yeah,
wider.
Reddit, like everybody who does drugs, I guess you could say they feel like Reddit is a trusted source, more than anything. And they're like, we want people that are sourcing what other people are actually experiencing rather than just like what the study says people are experiencing. And it's interesting, but yeah, so like it's like on the drugs topic, I think drugs are in a very similar boat to what we're talking about. Like, people are experimenting with different drugs to reach different mental states of bliss. And like they intertwine with the spiritual community like very intricately, I guess you could say. Like, and there's also like it's such a I don't like the word drugs, honestly. It's really not like the best word for it. Um, but I guess you could say like in my mind there's like a division between like what you're saying, natural remedies, natural products, um, and then there's like synthetic products essentially that are like man-made. So that's like really the main division, but then it's like everything else is more so like dosage, like how do you use this and how often do you use this and what is its role in your life and how does it like I guess decide your destiny in a way.
In a
And
lot of ways, also, how is it manufactured, right?
yeah.
Is it in its pure whole form, or has it been processed in some way? So, like, maybe a coca leaf is going to be different than, pure cocaine
Exactly.
cut, like chunk
Exactly.
powder that. So, I think that's why, I mean, I think a lot of it is plant medicine.
Yeah.
However, meth is gross. That's
Yeah.
why meth messes people up so bad because meth is like, let's take all these man made chemical substances and let's mix them all together and get really high off of it. And it's going to have I mean, people are going to have a effect, but it is nasty and addictive and destroys people alive. I don't know a lot of people who manage to just healthily do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, maybe somebody's out there who's managing to do meth and have like a really great relationship with it and is using it microdosing meth. I really don't know. But from my experience and my understanding, there's not really a lot of good that comes from that. Whereas microdosing, mushrooms, I mean, even if you're not microdosing, doing mushrooms, smoking pot,
Yeah.
there's a lot of natural plant medicines that, as long as you're respectful, I think we've talked about this before, right? Plant medicine and my
Well,
feeling about
we
alcohol.
know. Well, we've yeah, yeah, we've
How I feel
definitely.
like alcohol, each plant has its own energy and there's a plant energy associated with it. And if you're
Yeah.
respectful of that plant, alcohol also can have an amazing experience. But if you are not respectful, I feel like that plant energy is going to come after you and kick your butt.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
happens to people. Like that plant energy is not being respected. And if you are not respecting the energy of the plant, then watch out. And that's true of any plant, I think.
It's so true. And it's so interesting how do you know like I guess it's like you brought up it's funny microdosing meth. It's interesting because it goes like this. It's like okay, there's different levels of like you can't deny the fact that certain plants have mental effects. And like even like with food, for example, like the idea is that like you eat a certain diet to have a certain, you know, mental fabric or it helps build your mental body in a certain way. And I would say like plant medicines obviously do the same thing. It's like it's all in your body once you ingest it and you process it. And I think grounding in that sense is like is like is like not relying on like the ecstatic moments as like just the moments of like realization. Like I've met a lot of people around here and just in my life like living and like being in this community that like they're always chasing like the next retreat, they're always chasing the next like ayahuasca experience or they're looking for the next DMT experience or they're looking for like, oh, I want to try ibogaine now or this or that. And it's and to me, what I've noticed is like it comes from a place of not actually like doing like the purity work, doing the practices, like living like more of a cleaner lifestyle. It's like, when you drink, for example, and you get drunk, it's like you throw up, right? So it's like this is like you're sort of throwing up all the toxins. But then as soon as if you just continue to drink and continue to drink, like in this analogy, or continue to ingest toxins at a high level, like you're gonna keep feeling like, okay, I need to do another purge. I need to purge again. I need to purge again. But rather, it's like you want to purge from doing mushrooms or whatever thing that you're like too curious about to not try, then like take it with that concept. Okay, this is a purging moment, but this won't stick if I don't, pick up other practices. That's why it's so beneficial that if you do try anything, even weed, like I would even say especially weed, because even drinking, like a lot of people are introduced to drinking through the church, like in some way, shape, or form. Like I know I was, so I knew that it had a ritualistic aspect to it. But um, having like an intention before you smoke or before you take any drug, like I strongly advise, like if you do anything like weed or mushrooms, and I'm gonna advise you, like this might not be in grok, but if there was advice I would give you, it was like what Radha's saying is like try to have something that's more natural, more like where where it's sourced, at least you know how the process is. But if you are gonna do something like that, like pray before you do something like that. If that's in your practice, do a meditation before make sure the mind is calm and clean, and a lot of retreats, like ayahuasca retreats, because it's a more powerful, or the toad, or these more powerful, like quote unquote psychedelics, really plant medicines. Like you need to eat clean for several days before you go there. Like it's preferred to do them in a more natural environment. So as you do your own personalized, like private or semi-private, experimentation process with all the different, like I said, things that you're too curious to not try, which is usually how we just are. We're just curious. Um, like you can still apply the yogic practices before, even during or after, like to help keep you grounded, to help keep you make sure that okay, like you might have some crazy trip experience, but like you can always okay, let me bring myself back to the breathing. And I found that like even things like that, okay, or if you're getting a guided trip, they'll even say like concentrate on your breathing, pay attention to the music, or concentrate on something that's like in the room and have that help ground you throughout the process. But then after the process is you can take these things with you. So
I
like
think that's, yeah, that's kind of what I was saying about anything that you're going to do that has a plant
yeah,
associated. I mean, I think tequila is amazing. Tequila, the plant medicine in tequila is strong.
yeah,
Anybody who's had tequila knows that there's a strong energy there.
mm,
When you stop before you ingest it and you actually honor that plant medicine and say, I am doing this to unite with that plant medicine and to understand the wisdom or the experience you want to give me,
mm,
it's a much different experience than I'm just going to slam shots of tequila or drink 15
mm,
margaritas, whatever.
beautiful.
I've done both in my
Yeah.
time.
Amen.
Yep. And believe me, one will bite you in the ass, and the other one will provide you with a really incredible, like, energetic experience. And so, anytime you're going to, whether it's wine, marijuana, there is no plant associated with meth. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard to get back to the plant energy in that. And I
mm,
really think, like, that's one of the reasons why it will fuck you up because
yeah,
there's no energy protecting that. And
yeah.
if it is, it's so far removed from it
Well, the energy is greed that
that you can't like get back to that source energy
yeah,
that is what the plant is trying to, because plants are incredible and plants have amazing energy and plants can do crazy things to your mind and your brain, and all of this was created for a reason. Now Swami Satchidananda would always say that's fine to do that, I guess, but it'll be fading. It will go away. So why not just do the practices that will allow you to have that euphoric experience, that insight, that awareness, whatever it is that you're trying to get from the plant? Why not just cultivate that within yourself and have it always, and have it in a really balanced way? And you do that through the practices, right? The yogic practices that will bring
Yeah.
you to that state. So I'm not puritanical about it. Like, I think if people want to try it, I think it can give you an insight or a glimpse. Just like anything, just like if you buy a new pair of shoes and you get like a dopamine rush, great. Like that gives you an idea of what is possible,
Yeah.
but don't just keep going out and buying new pair of shoes, because
Yeah. Yeah.
just the same with like, don't go out and keep smoking weed and think that it's just going to last and that's the spiritual experience.
100%.
That's just to give you a hint of what the spiritual experience is that you could get if you did the practices and achieve that in its own right.
Absolutely. I think, and it's so interesting to me because now it's like we're in this phase, or at least what I'm trying to bring to the table is like everybody has a different way to get there. I found that like, what is emphasized in what I'm reading is like, the goal is God realization, or like is like, we are a part of like this creation. Like it's much more complex and mysterious than like it seems on the surface. And um that's what some of these plant medicines do, like right off the bat, because you're like, what in the world? Like, and there's like a sharpness that comes with them. But then it's like, okay, from there it goes back to like I was saying, like a lot of the when you do it the right way, like even when like I would even say like taking that glass of wine and like my memories are like communion, or like, well, I wouldn't do wine in Christian churches, but my cousin was Jewish, and we would do it like in the temple, and we would have wine in the temple, and like having that be like prayed on and felt on, and they're jackhammering outside. I
I was
can't.
gonna say we're getting like a weird whoa 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 whoa.
Yeah, yeah, they started jackhammering. Great, yay! So,
Yay, in the middle of
um,
the podcast.
uh, but and then so like when I look at like you hear about the Native Americans and how like there's like hape, which is like a tobacco like thing that you can do ritualistically, and like it's inhaled through the nose, and it's usually used for like right before it's to help with meditation and stuff like this, like mental clarity. And then there's all these different things, and like weed, obviously, you pray on, and it's used as a tool for meditation. And like so a lot of the practices that you have, whatever that you do, because like I have friends, like, I love them, I would advise them differently, but it's like they like more chemical things, like, they want to do Adderall and this and that, and they're just trying to figure out what is the right way for them, like to balance out their life, and still and obviously they know me, and I'm like, I'm a natural guy, like I don't even really use products that my wife doesn't make, or but this is my advice to you. It's like, okay, if you're gonna do this, like at the very least, like let's add in like a little extra hatha. Let's
Yes.
add in some practices and pay attention to your natural tendency, because like what happens is the mind will get attached, but the body will start to detach. Whereas you start to purify like the system, you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to do that as often. Like for me, like when as I started to practice yoga more, some things started to fall away, like meat eating, like alcohol for me wasn't like really doing me well, and like these urges started to fall away. But then my mind would say like, okay, well, this is social interaction or whatever, like you can do this or that. And I think like there's this balance for all of us, like, and I think Swami Sachinanda emphasized this, where it's like it's practice and non-attachment, but you're not like pushing things away, you're just allowing things to fall off. And it's like continue to practice. And so I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do whatever, if you're gonna microdose mushrooms, don't just like sit on your bed and just like lay up and look and just be like, whoa, or not. That wouldn't happen in the microdose, but like, no, like do something productive, do some practices, read something enlightening, like. And that's what I found is that like mushrooms is really special, I guess, like to be completely honest. And like we live in Colorado. I think like now they're rescheduling a lot of the psychedelics. They rescheduled weed as well, like in the last 2 weeks. Like he's throwing it all at the wall now to get the ratings up. Like I get it. But this is gonna be a much more present reality and like um, it's with a lot of these plant medicines like you're saying, or like we're saying, um the coolest thing about them is that you're like, wait a minute, a plant can do this? Like it just makes you feel so much more connected to creation, much more part of the whole. Like this isn't an accident. Like you can mix these two, a root and a vine, and some water and hot water, and now I'm in outer space. Like how is this possible? Feeling like love that I've never felt before.
Yeah.
But then like this is why I feel like our communities are so intertwined, is because this is what happens when like you spend like a couple, this is what can happen to you when you spend some time like an ashram. Like these are some things that can happen to you when you like when you're serving your community and doing right and like feeling like on top of your game. You can feel like this levity, this upliftment, this bliss that like you might feel when you take like 1.5 grams of mushrooms or something like that. And but I think drawing it all together, it's like music is still key in the whole aspect. Like if you're listening, like what you're listening to, what mood you're in, um, what spirit you're in while you're in these ecstatic states. Like I've jumped in down listening to like twerking music too. Like I've jumped in down and been real ecstatic listening to like some more bass level kind of stuff. So we have the opportunity there to use like the energy in the right way. We know we can do it, but I found that like when you kind of put it all together, and that's why like, at Yogaville they teach like opening up meditation, start with chanting, and then like to be completely honest, some pranayama does kind of like influence like a different mental state, like some sort of a high.
Oh
You know, you
yeah,
do
definitely.
you do your chanting, you have your prayer, you do your sankopa, you have pranayama, which does generally change your mental state. And that's why Swami Achanananda would emphasize, like instead of grabbing a smoke, like let's do some breath work, and then that leads you into it. It leads you into your meditation, your practice, and so like that's kind of the same system I'd like to see with like plant medicine if you're gonna use it at all.
I think that I would like to see that just straight across the board for everybody, whatever
Yeah,
you, because I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of prescription drugs. They've
yeah,
kept me on this planet.
yeah,
They've made it possible for me to stay in this incarnation longer than I would have otherwise.
yeah,
And however, I'm always telling people, like, people will take prescription drugs and then they'll be like, why am I still depressed? Why am I still anxious? The drug should have fixed it. The drug is not going to fix it. I always say, like, it's 10%. It's like your foundation, right?
yeah,
It's just going to do 10% of the work for you. But
yeah.
that 10% is important,
Mm,
but that's all it can do for you is 10%. And I
amen.
think that's true of any prescription drug, whether it is your heart medicine, your antidepressants, like whatever prescription drug you are taking,
Mm,
it is just foundational. The rest has got to be diet, lifestyle practices, all the
yeah,
things that you do to then, make sure that you are in health and wellness. Because prescription drugs cannot, even diabetes, like
mm,
insulin cannot fix everything, right? You've still got to change certain dietary habits and lifestyle things and reduce your stress. And so drugs in any form, again, I hate that word drugs. It's kind of weird because I think should be more prescription synthetic things,
yeah,
synthetic and non-synthetic. So synthetic and plant medicine, let's just say that.
yeah,
Uh, whole
yeah,
things.
yeah,
It's okay, and it's not gonna be the be all end all solution. Still, you get to do all the things. And those things are the practices of meditation, hatha yoga, eating clean, having I mean, I love caffeine. Like, caffeine is my drug of choice. Like, I
yeah.
love caffeine. I I'm just not somebody who likes to chill. Chill is not a nice state for me. So like
What about
the
sipping Mai Tais on the beach?
exactly. I mean, right. That's why I probably need alcohol to induce that. So alcohol is a better chill state for me, maybe than weed. Weed just makes me want to go to sleep. I'm like, well, I could just nap anyway. Like that's fine. So caffeine is obviously probably I'm revealing a little bit about my undiagnosed ADHD here, but
Yeah.
caffeine is like my thing. And I know like caffeine can be great. It also depends on how you ingest the caffeine, how often you ingest the caffeine, what time of day you ingest the caffeine. Like it's
Yeah.
all, you can't just be excessive in anything. It all gets to be done mindfully and with balance. I do not probably mindfully drink my coffee enough where I thank that plant energy for my
Yeah.
caffeine because usually I'm drinking it in the morning, but I have such gratitude. My morning cup of coffee is probably my favorite time of the day. It's like the best. And
Yeah.
it's so much my favorite that like actually my husband makes the coffee and he brings me coffee in bed every morning. I'm the most spoiled woman in the whole world, I think. Every
Mhm.
single morning I get my coffee in bed and it is my favorite moment of the day. So I do
Oh,
show a lot of gratitude even if I don't always think about the plant that gave me the caffeine. But I think anything you do like that, if you do it with an attitude of um, utilizing that plant, utilizing even that drug. So, fine, take your your blood pressure medication, but also realize like there's a lot of other stuff that has to be done. Go do your mushroom trip. Go do ayahuasca, but don't think that you're going to go down to Mexico and do ayahuasca and all your problems are going to be solved for the rest of your life.
yep. Do not.
You still get to come back and do the work. Can it enhance? Can it be useful for some people? I mean, the studies they're doing now with utilizing whether it is mushrooms, LSD, ketamine, all of these things in healing people from depression is pretty incredible.
I began one too. That's like
Yeah, I
powerful
mean,
now.
like
Yeah.
doing these things and healing people who had untreatable depression, like no psychiatric drugs were helping. And then they go and they do a series of these medicines and it heals them. So, I mean, yeah, sometimes our brains need a little support, sometimes our bodies need a little support, but you got to do all the other things too. Remember, it's just 10%, 10%, that's it.
Yeah. No, I love that analogy. And like the medicine to me, and I guess the yogic system really like elaborates on this, is that the mind and everything is a body. It's made out of a material. And so to me, the idea that there's plants that target more ethereal materials than just the crude body like seems makes sense. And especially when we heat them and like change them just a little bit biochemically. And so like there might be a natural remedy to depression, just like there is probably like there's like a natural numbing agent like in cocoa, for example, that can help heal you, that can help numb the pain as you process your healing. Or there's like purgatives that help you throw up and get rid of toxins, for example, physically. But if you just tomorrow eat a whole bunch of toxins, or if you tomorrow do a bunch of backstabbing actions, these are the things that also cause the wounding in the first place. And so like I've been trying to share more with with my friends, like the yamas and the yamas, which is really the fundamental aspect of it all. Like, why do you feel like you have so much you have to do in the first place? Like, what are you running from? What are you running to? What is all this happening? And then you look under the surface. Well, gambling, or addiction to this or addiction to that, and that's also pushing you to drive so much, pushing you to feel like, okay, if I'm not awake 18 hours a day, or if I'm not high all day, or if I'm not drunk all day, like I'll break down. And so it's just so beautiful to see, because I'm like, I'll be testimony to this, where it's like I've had friends that typically your friends are different than you. Like, your friends and your partner, typically they're different than you, so they have different practices. Like you said, your sister, or I think someone that you said would have the opposite dream of sipping Mai Tais on the beach because they don't like the sun or whatever. And like,
Right.
so like they're like, I'm not saying live like me, but we're just saying live with intention. And like a really nice way that I like to look at some of like the drugs, like the 10%, a way that really helps me is like, it's like a little boost. Like, okay, how are you going to use this boost? And something that we've been saying that like we should probably like take a little bit to talk about is like, as you go deeper in this world and practice, these practices more, the more you're able to be observant of your energies. I guess you could say, the more you're able to be like, okay, like being able to do a little check-in, like, how's my mind? Okay, is it foggy? Is it clear? Okay, bring down. Okay, how's my voice? Like, how's my heart feeling? Am I tense? Because you start to realize how much energy you have is really like the key to the whole puzzle. Like, when you're fully energized throughout your whole vessel, you're able to kind of do things and expand in a way that you can't. Like if you're hungry, for example, if all your energy is focused on your stomach, like all your moves are going to be to make sure that you get food. If you're focused on loving God, for example, focused on your crown, or that'll move you in a different way. If you're focused on sex, that'll move you in a different way. So you're able to kind of see like, okay, how's my sexual energy today? How's my, how does my stomach feel? How do I feel like internally? What do I want to accomplish today? How do I want to show up today and be strong? And then life starts to turn around and be like, okay, how can I manage my energy in the most meaningful way? What can I do to improve my energy? Because energy is what drives will, and like able to discern, like, okay, will is what keeps you from falling into addiction, really. Like the energy to be like, no, today I'm gonna abstain. I'm gonna break that pattern today. Like, I know I want a J, but no, I can logically see that no, my body doesn't want it, my mind wants it, or that in order for me to have a better high or a better experience later, I can't just be smoking all the time. It's like eating snacks all day, for example. So then it's like, okay, same thing with microdosing. You can't microdose every day. You have to oscillate. So then it's okay, maybe you come up with your regimen. Okay, maybe I'm gonna have, this tea every other day. Maybe on this day I'm gonna try this, and maybe this day I'm gonna do this. Maybe I'm gonna mix and match these things. Supplements, this also works well too, where it's like, every supplement company is going to say do this every single day. Everyone's going to say do it every day. Prescription medicine, I would say, is in a different boat than this, but if you're living a life where you want to experiment and see what's best for me, like, it's fun to like build in fasting days between different things, fasting periods. Okay, today between this 8-hour period I won't smoke. And then you see, like, then you're like, okay, I really do like being sober. Like, what? Like, it's actually kind of fun. Like, it feels good when I can feel it. And then, okay, well, today I'm going to microdose. When I microdose in the morning, the next time I microdose, I'm going to microdose at night. Next time I smoke, I'm going to microdose in the middle. I'm going to do in the middle of the day. Like, just play with it and have a playful attitude of reverence and respect, and being like, I know the main way that I'll get the benefit out of this is through non-attachment, by not being attached to this, by not fiending over this, by not lusting over it, but feeling like this was planted here and provided for my moderate enjoyment, and for me to gain from it, experience it, and then move on, and then try something else, and just move through life with that like childlike curiosity, but always the understanding that like I might be in a desert somewhere and I still need to be happy. Like, I might be stranded on an island and without any of these substances, and like even my prescription medicine. Like, how can I live in a way that'll still bring me optimum joy? How can I still be as healthy as possible, even though I know these things that are wrong with me? And I think the yogic practices are like, that's what that goal is that even if you don't have anything, any extra boosts, any extra supplements, like you have pranayama, You can always sing God's name. You can always meditate and think about that. You can always move your body a little bit. Maybe even if it's just your neck, like maybe it's just your eyebrows if you're paralyzed. Like maybe it's just the one finger, but you can do something that brings you closer, that brings peace of mind, and helps you realize that you're just a part and parcel of all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, oh gosh, that's
I'm gonna
beautifully
jackhammer going
said,
off.
because it's just wrapping it all up. Like we we have seasons, and the season is not seasons over the year. The season can be throughout the day. The season can be throughout the hour. The season can be whatever it is. But just realizing that if you're present in the moment to what you're experiencing, what you need, what's happening, it can be really a powerful experience. And I love what you're saying about like always relying on the practices, because, you know, I think we were talking about earlier this year, I had a switch in my prescription medication. I was off one and I had such a bad reaction, such a bad reaction. It was like, I mean, my eyeballs were making noise. Every time I moved my eyeballs, there were like swishing noises, and like my whole nervous system was whacked out. And it was really bad. And like I was having twitches and like just weird buzzing and like all these things from being off this drug that was really one that I did not like and I probably shouldn't have been on. Then I went, as we were getting the drug out of my system, then I went into like a pretty severe state of depression. I had this great therapist who was like, I was just like, I can't get out of bed. I just don't like, and she was like, well, then stay in bed. She's like, maybe you need deep rest. Why are you trying to get out of bed? And I was like, I don't know, because I'm supposed to get out of bed. Society
I've
says,
already had
get
three
out of
coffees.
bed,
I've
be
already had three
productive,
coffees.
do something. And she was like, well, I mean, probably you don't want to stay in bed for the rest of your life, but it sounds to me like your body, your nervous system, everything is saying you just need to be in bed. And so literally she would just like, every time I talked to her, she'd just be like, stay in bed. And I kind of stayed in bed for, it felt like a long time. I don't know how long it was. It felt like weeks
Yeah.
to me, where I was just in bed for weeks. And guess what? My nervous system started to get better. I
Yeah.
started to heal. We put me on a different drug, which was one that I'd been on before, which we just know works better with my system. But that's a perfect example of, I had to use that wisdom of rest, right? Deep relaxation, rest, healing. I wasn't just laying in bed. I was trying to like lay in bed and think healing thoughts. And I was like, okay, like let my body, my system just relax. Like I would find my neck tensing and I'd be like, okay, just relax. Like, so using all of these things when you're going through these experiences, because again, there may be a time where you're on a, your own deserted island where you don't have access to the things.
Yeah.
And that's when all these practices that you're doing, all this work that you're doing. Now, I've got Henson drinking water in the background, which is almost as loud as your jackhammer. We've got such noises happening today. Anyway, so yeah, so just knowing that utilizing the practices will always support you in any time where you don't have access to those other things. And again, it also is longer lasting. The estates of euphoria are fun, but you can have them all the time. You can be in a state of absolute peace, joy,
Yeah.
enlightenment, oneness, all of those things. That's your true birthright. That is who you are at your essence in your soul. That is who you are without all the illusion and stuff swirling around you. So it's fun to use these things, use them as tools. Think of them as useful partnerships with the plant medicine. Or if you need to do the drugs, fine, but always remember to do them with reverence, appreciation, gratitude, using them with an energy of like, I'm doing this in alignment with the universe, not just mindlessly,
Yeah.
just taking things or doing things or, that I think is where we get into trouble when we're out of alignment with whatever it is that we're whatever tools we're using on our path.
And sometimes when we do that, like alignment, like, hey, like that moment of pause, we'll hear a little voice that's like, no, don't do it. And don't do it.
Yeah, you don't
Sometimes
need
I'm
that
like,
today.
yeah, and sometimes I'm like, okay. Like, so keep that in mind too. Sometimes at any time you can stop. You can stop halfway through. You could be like, I was gonna have 4 beers. You can stop at one. You never have to go beyond what your heart is saying is out for you, even in your whatever dosage that you want to take. Sometimes that might not be the whole thing that you need at that moment. So just be open and flexible. Don't be too rigid. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
I think this swirling conversation led us to really cool places as always. And I think wrapping it up is just, yeah, like being in alignment with whatever that energy is that you're interacting with and imbibing, sourcing, taking whatever, just being in honoring that energy is going to give you a better experience than if you don't.
Yeah, 100%. Well,
Alrighty. Another wonderful talk.
yeah, absolutely. Another banger.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I think in a few episodes we're gonna try to have some guests on here, so you guys can look forward to that.
Yep.
We're still interested in some help. If you guys want to volunteer and just help us out with just like marketing stuff, let us know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
All right.
all my little announcements.
Stay tuned and thank you all for listening. We look forward to next time. Thank you, Quentin.
Thank you, Radha. Peace
See
out.
you next time.
Home.